What's going on, guys? Jordan here, coming back at you again with another episode of Beer Reviews. Tonight, we're going to be doing the second episode of Macro versus Craft, and Samuel Adams Boston Lager is up again. But this time, it's going to be Budweiser versus Samuel Adams Boston Lager. Now, both of these beers are coming in at 5% ABV. This is a 25-ounce can. This is a single bottle from the six-pack that I got a couple of weeks ago. Last week, we did the first episode here on the channel of Macro versus Craft, and it was Miller High Life versus Samuel Adams Boston Lager. Now, Samuel Adams didn't win that battle. Miller High Life came out on top, but I wanted to see how this would stand up against the king of beers, which is not true, but self-proclaimed king of beers, Budweiser. I wanted to see how it would stack up against one of the most popular macro beers in the country. I almost said on the planet. Probably. But let's go ahead and pour these up. Let me get my bottle opener here because I'm going to need it for the Samuel Adams. Let's go ahead and crack into the Budweiser. Pop this open. All right. Don't need that anymore. And again, I'm not doing these blind. I'm doing these just how they are. Just pouring them into the glass, and we're going to review them because, like I said, that just like last week, they do taste different. There is the Budweiser. Here is the Boston Lager. Try to produce a hit on that. I noticed one thing about Samuel Adams Boston Lager. The head doesn't stick around all that much. So, here we are. There's a little bit more beer in the Budweiser glass, but you know, it is what it is. Actually, you know what? Let's see. Let's see who wins this. What's got that better head retention? It looks like Budweiser's slightly not doing so great, and Samuel Adams surprisingly hanging on here. All right. Enough of that. Let's go ahead and get a sniff on each of these. Typical Budweiser aroma. If you've had Budweiser, which I'm sure most of you have, if not all of you, it smells like a Budweiser. You know what that smells like. And this smells hoppy. With a little bit of sweetness. All right. Let's get a taste on each beer. We are going to start with... Which one should we start with? Which one did we start with last week? I think we started with Miller High Life last week, if I remember correctly. So we're going to start with Samuel Adams Boston Lager tonight. Cheers. Hoppy. It's got a decent amount of bitterness. A little bit of sweetness on the back end. It is what it is. Budweiser. Sweet taste. No bitterness to speak of. Smooth, easy drinking, as Budweiser is. Typical American adjunct lager flavor. While we are doing these taste tests, I do want to go ahead and talk about the price. Because price is a factor here. The Boston Lager, actually, we'll start with the Budweiser. The Budweiser is $8.48 for a 6-pack of the 12-ounce bottles. And the Samuel Adams is $9.48. So we're talking $1 difference for Samuel Adams Boston Lager with the same ABV. So obviously that's going to be taken into account. Now there is some lacing here that Budweiser does not have. Okay? So obviously there's a bit of a quality difference here. But the thing for me is I unfortunately did not get to try the original Boston Lager before they remastered it. Now I've heard, excuse me, I had a hiccup. I have heard a few people on YouTube that reviewed the remastered edition saying that it tastes different than it used to and it's not as good as it was anymore. The Mighty Plantain, if you guys know who the Mighty Plantain is, he's a great reviewer. Highly recommend you check out his channel if you haven't already. He did a review of I think it was a pack of Samuel Adams beers, and the remastered Boston Lager was in it. He literally dumped it out. He poured it down the drain because he was just not a fan of it. And I kind of see where he's coming from, especially if this beer was different at one point. What it is now is not something that I really enjoy all that much, I'll be honest with you. So that kind of gives away what's happening here with the this battle here. Now, I do understand that Samuel Adams is technically a macro brewery now because, I mean, they're everywhere. But they were kind of the ones who kind of started off the whole craft beer hype. So they are still technically craft. That's why I am doing this macro versus craft series with that. But before we end this, let's go ahead and taste them each again. So in my opinion, this is just me, I'm going with Budweiser. Budweiser, in my opinion, defeats Samuel Adams Boston Lager. It has a better taste. It's not as harsh on the palate. It's smooth. It's easy to drink. And honestly, in my opinion, I just think it's the better beer. And for $1 cheaper, for the same ABV, I would go with Budweiser every single time. I would have loved to have tried the Boston Lager before they remastered it and changed it because I don't know. I've heard people say it even wasn't as bitter as it is now. This almost it's almost leaning into the IPA category, like the West Coast style IPA, with that amount of bitterness that it has. It's not overly bitter or anything, but it's got more bitterness than I would want in a lager for sure. So Budweiser wins this one. Pretty easy. We're going to go ahead and end this thing with Samuel Adams that we've been doing with the Boston Lager. The next Macro versus Craft episode is not going to be with Samuel Adams, I promise you that. It's going to be with a much better craft lager or IPA against a macro version of that. So I did want to give it one more chance. I wanted to see how it stacked up against the self-proclaimed king of beers, one of the most popular beers here in America, Budweiser. So had to do it, had to see how it stacked up, and I kind of knew what the result was going to be, but I had to give it a try. So Budweiser defeats Samuel Adams Boston Lager. And like I said, I would have loved to have been able to try the original Boston Lager before they remastered it. So it is what it is. that's the video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Be sure to let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit me with a thumbs up. And if you guys have any suggestions on anything you would like me to try in the future, leave it in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to try to find it and give it a review. As always, until next time, thanks for watching. Cheers.